and be open to opportunities. I mean, that's one of the things I would encourage folks to do. Be curious, learn about not just your area, but all kind of around adjacent areas, any opportunities you can to take on new challenges.
Welcome to the Prosper Brief. Today we're joined by Horace Dawson, former CEO of Red Lobster, and Reggie Stover of Henny Penny. They are going to be diving into Horace's journey from growing up overseas to his rise in the restaurant industry.
Well, we're here today talking to Horace Dawson. So thrilled to have this opportunity to speak with you and talk with you about your esteemed, accomplished background. So just want to say, first and foremost, welcome, Horace, to the podcast.
Thank you, Reggie. Thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Well, thank you for joining us. So let's just jump right into it. Really just want to get to know you a little better. So tell us your story. Who is Horace Dawson?
Thanks for the question, Reggie. I'll go way back. I'll start at the beginning.
Okay.
I had a very interesting growing up. My father was a professor at University of North Carolina Central.
HBCU, right?
HBCU in Durham, North Carolina. So that's where I was born. And I was there till I was 5 years old. And then at that time, there were a lot of African countries that were getting their independence. There were very few blacks in the Foreign Service. Uh-huh. So my father got recruited to the Foreign Service by Edward R. Murrow, the great newspaper man who had just joined the Kennedy administration.
Wow, man, that's incredible.
So he tracked him down. And the next thing we know, we're in Washington, D.C., where he's getting his initial training. And then spent 3 years in Uganda, 3 years in Nigeria, and 3 years in Liberia. So
did the family go as well? Or?
Whole family went.
Wow.
Moved overseas. And
that's
so
an
I had my
experience.
formative years in Africa.
That is incredible, man.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that. How did that help develop Horace into the leader? And we're going to talk a little bit more about your most recent role. Mm-hmm. But how did that develop Horace into the leader that he was to become?
You know, that was a very important time for me. I mean, I got, this great experience in all kinds of cultures. It opened me up to cultures of all types. It opened me up to being able to change, adapt to new situations. And it created a lifelong interest in international. And so in my career, I was always interested in expanding internationally, bringing the brands I was involved with overseas. And so it was a very important part of my brought up.
Talk to me a little bit more. Let's go a little deeper into your background. I want to understand, where did Horace go to school, undergraduate or graduate school? What kind of activities further helped develop your leadership skills?
Well, I got back to the U.S. in time to go to high school. I had my last 2 years of high school in Washington, D.C., where my father had an assignment. It was the Sidwell Friends, which was a very great college, high school. Got me ready for college, which I went to Harvard and majored in economics.
Wow.
And at that point, I was trying to decide where to go. I had an interest in law and business. And so I decided to do a joint program. So I did a joint program in both law and business at Harvard, did it in 4 years, which is
undergrad and grad at Harvard.
Yeah.
That's outstanding.
You got 3 degrees, an MBA and a JD.
That is
from
awesome.
Harvard.
Wow. I spent a little time in Boston. I was at one point, the chief human resource officer at Boston Children's Hospital, which is right next door to Harvard Medical School.
Great hospital.
So it is, it's an incredible hospital, obviously, but man, to get your undergrad and graduate degree at Harvard University, that had to be pretty special.
It was a great experience.
Yes.
Made some great friends, so I keep track of it to this day. And
you guys are a tight little community. Those Harvard graduates, they kind of stick together a little bit. Talk to us a little bit about your family. You have any kids? What they're doing? Just a little bit more about you.
Yeah. So I have 2 kids.
Okay.
My son is 35, lives in Atlanta. He is doing tech and working at a shipping company.
Awesome.
And my daughter is got her postdoc at University of California.
Wow.
And she is now in D.C., University of Maryland, Baltimore County.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And just starting off as kind of assistant professor role there.
Excellent.
And my dad is over the moon because my dad retired from the Foreign Service, went into Howard, where he did the School of Foreign Affairs there, and he has since retired from that. He's now 98, and his granddaughter lives about 10 minutes away and spending a lot of time with him. So he is thrilled.
That is fantastic. That is beautiful, beautiful backstory, man. Congratulations to you. They say the fruit doesn't fall very far from the tree. So thinking about your educational background at Harvard and listening to you in terms of what your son and your daughter's doing, sound like they're off to a very fantastic start in life.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Talk to us, Horace, about Prosper. How did you find out about this thing called Prosper, and what interested you in being involved in what they have going on?
Well, I am just so thrilled to be a part of this. This is a really impressive organization. It's really made great strides. I found out about it, it was a couple of years ago. They asked me if I wanted to be a founding member, and I was just happy to do so when I heard about the mission that was involved. I know James Fripp from the National Restaurant Association. I'm on the board there, and he was instrumental in telling me about it, getting me excited about it. And so I got our first accelerated in the first class, Tanya Heron, who was a lawyer in our class at my department when I was general counsel at Red Lobster. And it's great. We have one this year too, Arlene Milton, who's just so happy to have them involved.
I'm going to have to seek them out and meet them. So you mentioned the fact that you sat on the board at the National Restaurant Association. Let's take a little step back. Now, I was told that you were a CEO of a major restaurant chain. Who is that? Who was that organization? And talk to us about your leadership role there and what you did.
Well, I retired as CEO of Red Lobster, and I got my first contact with the brand was 21 years ago when I joined Darden Restaurants. I was in the legal department at Darden Restaurants.
So you started out as a legal person in the restaurant business.
I did.
And ultimately ended up the CEO of the restaurant.
Well, actually, my background, I started out in business at Hard Rock Cafe. That was my introduction to the restaurant business.
Wow. Was that local, or meaning in where you were at that time, or did you go to Las Vegas, or where did you start out at the Hard Rock Cafe?
It was interesting how I got into the restaurant business, a little unusual. I had started my career as a lawyer on Park Avenue in New York City.
Oh, wow.
And from there, in private practice, I went to a company that became Telemundo, the Spanish language TV network.
Yes, I'm familiar with that.
And so that gave me a background in entertainment. And New York City, we had our kids there. And while New York was great to be a young single man, young married person.
You are in the Mecca, doing big things. Park Avenue, young lawyer. That's outstanding, man.
Had kids there, and it was not such a great place to raise kids, but the headquarters for Telemundo moved to Miami.
Okay.
So that's what got me to Florida, which was very fortunate. And I got background in entertainment, which made which made Hard Rock Cafe interested in me. So I came to Hard Rock Cafe, where I combined this interest in entertainment and with my international interest.
Wow.
And Hard Rock Cafe was expanding all over the world. And I had a chance to go to Hard Rock in a business role, helping expand the restaurants internationally. Got to go back to Africa.
I was going to ask, did you get a chance to go back overseas and do some things with Hard Rock Cafe?
It was awesome. Got to go back to Africa and built a restaurant in Cape Town, which was exciting.
When's the last time you visited Africa to see some of the wares or the labor of your hard work over there?
It's been a while. That was actually the last time I'd been to Africa, which was quite a while ago. But the interesting thing was, at the time, my father was U.S. Ambassador to Botswana, so I got to see him.
Man, you have really, really a phenomenal background. Starting with your dad and these getting recruited into the foreign services and these different countries that you visited. And then you end up going back over there with Hard Rock. What brought you back? Well, you were in the States, but got a chance to go over to Africa to build the Hard Rock in Cape Town. So you didn't go back and live there. You just helped build the restaurant, get it going, and then you came back to Florida?
Came back to Florida, was based in Florida at the time, and was traveling extensively all over the place with new restaurants that were opening. And then I had the chance to go into Darden Restaurants. And Darden restaurants at that time had 5 major brands, including Red Lobster being the original one. And that was the great experience. I was in the legal department there, working on all the brands and doing fantastic, interesting things there, which included lobster aquaculture. We were trying to crack the code, being the first people to grow lobsters on a farming basis,
Wow.
as well as expanding the Darden brands internationally.
What? How did you transition from the legal side of the house, doing all the things with the brands, and how did you eventually move into the restaurant and start managing, leading, and obviously, ultimately, the CEO? So, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so when in 2014, Red Lobster was bought by private equity. And so I moved from Darden to Red Lobster as general counsel. So I said the legal department.
Okay.
But because of, we had a smaller team at that point, I was involved in a lot of aspects of the business of that time. I was heading the communications group. I was in government affairs. I was involved in several different things. I got a chance to work with many folks, marketing and others. And I was the main conduit to our ownerships, both when we were at private equity as well as when we had subsequent owners. And that gave me the opportunity to step up into the CEO job.
That's outstanding. Now, educate me and us a little bit. Are they still private equity?
No, they were sold to a major supplier.
Okay.
And they're recently gone through reorganization, and they're about to emerge from reorganization. Right now, they're owned by the Fortress Group, which is an investment, one of the major investors in the company. And they are about to emerge from reorganization in just a couple of weeks from now.
Wow. So Red Lobster is one of those restaurants. My wife loves it. She used to go, we go there all the time. The kids loved it. Grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, so we had a couple of Red Lobster locations in the Beechwood area and some other places. So we're here at the Prosper Forum, and this forum is all about setting a table for future leadership and providing opportunities for people who look like you and I and others, women, other minorities, to have that opportunity to move into some of the levels, aspire to some of the levels like you have obviously obtained. Can you talk to us a little bit or give the Prosper accelerators some insight and advice from you as it relates to leadership and things that kind of helped you along the way, some pearls of wisdom, if you will?
Glad to. This is such an amazing opportunity to make those connections that are so important in our industry. And, our industry is very welcoming. There's great opportunities. And this is such a target-rich environment for great people to help you along your way. So what you've been an accelerator, keep coming back, soak up all you can, and be open to opportunities. I mean, that's one of the things I would encourage folks to do. Be curious, learn about not just your area, but all kind of around adjacent areas, any opportunities you can to take on new challenges. Raise your hand if there's something that is a stretch for you, give it a shot.
So be curious.
Be curious.
Raise your hand. Don't be afraid. When you say stretch, I think about taking on those tough assignments or in some cases, those assignments other people are not willing to do.
Absolutely.
Good pearls of wisdom. When you think about your overall career, and man, like I started out saying, it's been a phenomenal career. When you think about, I have a double question for you. When you think about your greatest success or something that you would change or do differently in terms of the advice piece to the accelerators, talk to us about what has been your greatest accomplishment in your opinion, professionally, up to this point in your life, since retiring or up to retirement? And then what has been your greatest challenge or opportunity, lessons learned or key takeaways that you can leave with the Prosper accelerators?
I think the thing I'm proudest of is the teams I've built. I think that, got great relationships with many of the teams that I built at Red Lobster, particularly the one I'm closest to is a legal team that I served as general counsel for so many years. And we just put together a great group that really has grown tremendously, has been through some incredible challenges and faced them head on and with some real, passion for the brand. One of the things about the Red Lobster brand is that it has created some real fans, both in the employee group as well as guests. And to kind of foster that passion, to support it, to increase it is something that I'm very passionate about, one thing I'm really happy about.
Outstanding. What is one of the biggest lessons you learned? And we obviously, there's so many we learn on our journey, but if you could think of one, Horace, that you would like to share and leave with the Prosper Accelerators, what would that be in terms of a lesson learned and what you took away from that lesson?
I think that, again, going back to the question of being curious, of really finding out what makes people tick, getting close to your team, finding out how they can best perform, what it is that motivates them, what it is that allows them to perform at their best. And I would encourage folks to do that both with the people on their team, as well as the people they report to, as well as the boards. And that curiosity and that kind of dedication to doing what you can to drive the company forward is what I would.
Fantastic advice. Now, you mentioned earlier that you recently retired. Now, I'm just curious on this one. Horace, what do you think you'll miss the most as it relates to being the CEO of an iconic brand like a Red Lobster? What do you think you would miss the most?
I miss that involvement on a day-to-day basis with a strong team of performers. That's what I'll miss. And I'm not giving up on getting back to that. I'm thinking that it's something I would be still willing to get involved in. Right now, I'm involved with the National Restaurant Association still, the Educational Foundation of the National Restaurant Association, and the Florida Restaurant and Lodging. And I get some of that there, but kind of that direct involvement with helping bring guests a fantastic experience is something that I'm still interested in doing.
Awesome. Horace, of course, I have your bio here, and I just want to share with our people, our listeners, that you have had a phenomenal career, an illustrious background, going all the way back to not only your father and your family moving to the foreign countries, but the education you received at Harvard, undergrad, and post and graduate school. I just want to say, man, it's been my pleasure to have this opportunity to speak with you real time and interview you. Is there any last thing that you would like to share with our listeners? Anything you want to say?
I just want to thank the Prosper Forum for pulling this together. I mean, it's such a great group of leaders. Hattie Hill and James Fripp and David have just done a great job with this. I have been so inspired. And they've got great people like you that they've brought in. And it's such a wonderful opportunity for accelerators to learn, to grow, and to further their careers. And making the world a better place is the ultimate goal. And I think this organization has done a great job of moving it forward. So I just want to thank the Prosper Forum.
Very good. I want to say thank you for your time. This has been beautiful, man.
Really enjoyed it, Reggie. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. We hope Horace's journey and leadership insights have inspired you to be curious, embrace challenges, and build strong teams. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe and share it with your network. Stay tuned for more stories here on the Prosper Brief.